Okay, now looking at the summarization chain, once again, you come in here, advanced AI, you've got your summarization chain right there that says it transforms text into a concise summary. You know, you could potentially just go into a message model node or an OpenAI node and say, hey, summarize this incoming text. But this is going to have some advanced options for you that you can kind of like chunk up the text, summarize each chunk, feed that back in, and then make the like consolidate all of it. Or you could kind of like just do it all at once. So I'll talk about that. Anyways, first let's just hook this up if we can, and let's take a look at the data coming in. So this is a decent sized chunk of text. Daniel Carter from Quantum Dynamics, 150 employees. Here's a budget. So it's all kind of on the theme of like form submissions, and we don't want to read this. We just want to get quick information right into our CRM, right into an email draft, stuff like that. So first of all, because it's an AI node, of course, we got to connect a model. I'm hooking up my Gemini 2 Flash once again, which I love using for a lot of quick testing. Anyways, I mean, it is pretty powerful. But first, we have the data to summarize. So we have use node input, and we have JSON. So what it's going to be taking right now is just directly, this JSON script right here that's coming in as the input. So that's what it's looking at right now. As you can see, we have options to put in binary, or we can use a document loader. So the document loader, the exact same way you would put data into, load data into Pinecone or Supabase or Quadrant or whatever it is. If you click on this, you're going to see the document loader option here where you'd set this up. You'd once again then choose JSON or binary. You're just loading in the data. What are you feeding in? You could get more specific if you wanted to and say, hey, we're just going to be looking at this. Or you could load all the input data, and then you've got your other options there as well. And then if you do that, you choose a text splitter, which of course, we've talked about the difference between recursive, token, and character text splitter. All of these in here have that same option where you're going to chunk it up within a specific size by tokens. You're going to have overlap. And if you haven't, and if that stuff is kind of confusing, I would go ahead and watch in the step-by-step video. In the step-by-step course, I made a video, I think it was called like Oversimplifying RAG. It was a live RAG build. Talked about some of this stuff. Anywho, so there's that option to do a document loader. You could also, we're just going to stick with this for now, and we can choose how we're going to chunk up here as well. So we've got overlap and characters per chunk. Now we have a chunking strategy, which in this case, if we leave it as simple, we just choose the characters per chunk and the overlap. But we could go to advanced, which is just the same thing as adding a text splitter. So there's a lot of ways to get to similar options. So it's kind of just playing around, and you want to test out a few things. But first run, we're just going to leave it as this. So it's going to be chunking by every 1,000 characters, and then it's going to be overlapping each chunk by 200 characters. So we're not going to lose context of like, that middle ground right there. If we were chunking here and here, we may miss some stuff in between if it was like a sentence or something and it cut in the middle of a sentence. But if we overlap, we have some, more insurance there. So options, then we have summarization method and prompts. So here's what I was talking about, the different ways that we can actually summarize things. We can summarize each document or chunk individually, and then at the end, look at all the summaries and then summarize those summaries. And if you don't click into the options, it's just going to do that by default. As you can see, it's recommended. Then we have refine, where it's going to summarize the first chunk and then update the summary based on the next chunk. And so it's going to be like an iteratively, like it's crawling through and updating the summary and building on top and adding more information each time. So it'll be interesting to see if we ran two different types, like if it was a big document, what it would come back as. And then we have stuff. I don't know why they call it stuff, but I guess I do, because they're doing everything in once. So they're chunking it up, but then they're throwing all chunks to the model to just have one go at summarizing them. So in this case, it would be fine. But as you can see, it says ideal for small data sets. But if you had a huge, 15-page PDF, you wouldn't want to do that. I think MapReduce is probably the best because it's kind of that aspect of, I don't want to say parallelization, but all the inputs are going to be separate, so there's no bias, and then we're throwing them together at the end rather than this one that kind of builds on top of each input. So, and then I really wouldn't touch these, right? It's just individual summary prompts. So each chunk, we're going to say, write a concise summary of the following chunk. And then at the end, we're going to say, here are all of the summaries, write a concise summary of all the summaries. So this is where you could play around with it. I think that you probably should just leave it as is because it's just going to write a summary. Anyways, let's pass this through and let's see what our summary looks like from this guy. So Daniel Carter, 150 employees seeking a solution to improve AI customer support chatbot. The chatbot provides inaccurate responses, struggles with industry jargon, and increases support ticket escalations, despite retrain efforts. They are open to optimizing the current chatbot or switching to a more advanced solution. 30 to 50K budget, 3-month timeline. Okay, so let's see real quick. If we went to refine, now we have the prompt as a little bit because it's a subsequent prompt. Your job is to produce a final summary. We have provided an existing summary up to this point. So here's where it's feeding in what it has already to update. Anyways, let's see if we get something completely different. Because the text is so small here, it probably won't change much. You can see the wording's a little different, but because the text is so small, like I said, pretty much the same thing. And then you could also do stuff where it's going to be looking at the whole thing, which honestly, I assume like I was going to say, like we're looking at chunking by 1,000 characters, and I don't even know if this hits 1,000 characters. So right now that has like no difference. But let us clear this data. Okay, I can't save it if there's nothing in there. Let me just unpin this. Okay, what's in there now? Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. What we're gonna do here is I want to throw some binary in there, and we can see if it's a longer doc, what that looks like. So we're just gonna download a file right here. See if the account is connected. Okay, we'll do customer support policies and FAQs. So we're gonna be downloading this. We're gonna leave it as binary so we can pass it through as binary. So there we go. It's not JSON, it's binary. If we were to load the JSON, it would give us this text right here. So we want to make sure we don't do that. And so how I'm going to do that first is just by saying, okay, we're going to use the input that's binary. So we'll just stick with this for now. We're chunking that, splitting it. This file is a little longer. So here's our summary. Customer support is available Monday, Friday, 9 a.m., 6 p.m. Response is aimed for 24 hours during business days. Issue resolution is targeted within 3 business days, updated every 48 hours. You know, at the end, we have customer data is protected according to GDPR. So that's what we have. That was the stuff method. Let's say we wanted to do map reduce. So this is going to split up all the chunks, and it's going to summarize them each. Now we have a bit of a different one. As you can see, the GDPR is earlier. The FAQ then talks about order tracking, damaged products, cancellations, all that kind of stuff. And if we refine it, it's going to be iteratively doing that. So just playing around with different ways you want to get your information summarized. As you can see, this one's a lot longer because every summary is building on top of each other. So this one's a little more detailed, but cool. So now let's say we wanted to split it up differently. We would be able to just do that from there. Or of course, we can use the document loader. If we don't want to pass it in like that, we'll grab our binary data because that's what we want to grab. Automatically detecting that MIME type. We can see here that it's a doc. So we would do docs right there. So we can actually just throw that in. Throw in a recursive character text splitter to keep context. And if we were to run this again, we're going to get a bit of a different summary here. And we're using refine. So that's even longer now. Yeah, a lot more detailed. We could change this back to reduce. Now it's shorter. And then finally, what I wanted to show you is if we were changing this to JSON, we're going to be grabbing this rather than the binary. So as you can see, JSON, now it's not going to be about our customer support policies. It's going to be about Sarah. So Sarah from Technova Solutions. Okay. But yeah, that one's going to be it for the summarization chain. Hope it helped. See you guys in the next one.